Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and I really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to watch the video. And today I'm going to tell you the story about how I won the Bass Pro Shop National Casting Championship. And in addition to that, I'm going to sort of use that to sort of give you guys some tips and advice that can improve your own casting, which in my opinion is one of the keys to being a good fit bass fisherman. I mean, if you're a good caster, it can overcome so much other weaknesses that you may have in your game. So I'll give you guys some tips and advice on that. Real quick, just wanted to remind everybody, just if you have a chance, go check out fishthemoment.com. Johnny and I are getting our fall lake map breakdowns up on the site. They're all over there. You can order those on fishthemoment.com. Also got information about our bass camp on November 6th. And just wanted to give everybody also my weekly reminder on my channel. If you guys are interested in becoming members and receiving additional videos that aren't available to the public, my own personal email address for your fishing questions, you can just go on to my homepage of my YouTube channel, click on the About section, and click on Intuitive Memberships, and you can get the info there. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about this Bass Pro Shop Casting Championship. For 2 years, back in the 1992 and 93, Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Shops had a national casting competition championship, and this was open to everybody in the country that was a professional angler. So in this particular competition, you had all the top pros of the day. Denny Brower, Jimmy Houston, Shaw Grigsby, Tommy Biffle, all the guys, the pro anglers. And you also had some of the most famous casting champions in the country, like Stan Fagerstorm. He was like a trick caster. You had a lot of trick casters in there. So it was the best of the best. And there was a 2-year competition. And the first year of the competition, I finished third, made a few mistakes. And then the next year, in 1993, I won the championship, won the competition. And I was sort of going to tell you a little bit about that, some stuff that'll help you guys with your fishing too. One of the things that I learned out early on in my fishing is, like I said, you guys have followed me much, you know that I didn't have any money starting out, so I had to do everything I could to become a better angler. And back when I started out, guys, and one of the things that allowed me to win the casting championship was that's one thing that I could do that didn't cost me any money. I could get out and practice my casting, and that's what I did all the time. I worked out in the backyard, and I'd set up different targets, and I'd learn to pitch and flip and skip, throw with a spinning rod, and hit these targets, because that's something that I could control, and I practiced this, constantly, as much as I possibly could. And in the casting championship, there was it was a combination of you had a part of it was casting with a spinning outfit, part of it was casting with the bait caster outfit. So you had to be good at both as far as the targets. And what they did is in the championship there, they had like a giant pool set up at the outside in the parking lot at the Bass Pro Shop national headquarters in Springfield. Had it at night. It was all lit up. Had lots of spectators in there and everything. And they had they were like lit cups that were placed all around in different distances from the platform. So you had targets anywhere as close as like 20 feet away, and some over 100 foot away. And these cylinder cups were about as big as a small coffee can jar or something like that. And when you made the pitch or the cast or whatever, if you got it in there, it lit up and you got credit for that. So anyway, in this particular competition, it was an elimination round, and you were paired up against certain anglers. So I survived the elimination round through all the different pros. I was up against Stan Fagerstorm at one point. He was the trick caster, beat him, and went through some guys like, Shaw Grigsby, who was a famous, known to be a great caster. Went through Shaw Grigsby, Houston, O.T. Fears, Biffle. Biffle was my closest competitor, but wound up winning the championship. And it was pretty cool. Got a $10,000 check from Johnny Morris. He invited me into his office and gave it to me, so that was a pretty neat deal. But the tips I want to give you guys with casting, there's a couple different ones. And I'll do some stuff on the lake at a later point as far as to show you specifics. But one of the big keys in becoming a good caster, it doesn't matter whether you're using your spinning tackle or bait caster, is you got to let the cast come from your wrist like that. A lot of people, they tend to cast with their arms, and they'll, use their arms to try to fling baits out, but you got to learn to cast with your wrist. Your wrist gives you a lot more of a controlled motion. And if you've got good wrist action, you can flip and pitch and cast a bait a long way just with your wrist. I would recommend one of the things that you can do is try to build up your forearm muscles. You can do that with some simple weight exercises. The stronger that your forearms are, the more effectively you can make those roll casts with your wrist and do it all day long without getting fatigued. That's a really big thing there. Second to that is one of the things that you should learn to do is try to cast left-handed and right-handed, because when you are able to switch hands ambidextrously and cast left-handed and right-handed, that makes you a lot more of an efficient caster in a variety of situations. So you can, a lot of times some people are more accurate with one hand over the other, but practicing with that, you can get really good, especially if you're pitching and flipping. Pitching and flipping, you ought to be able to go back and forth between your left hand and right hand based upon, what side of the boat you're on or what you're trying to do with that. There's two other things that are really critical as far as your casting accuracies, beyond using the wrist and, going back and forth. And that is knowing how to feather your spool correctly. On a spinning reel or a bait casting reel is learning how to feather the spool and how much pressure or how much pressure not to put on the spool. That is the key to landing a bait where you need to do it precisely. Because if you're pitching and flipping a bait, once you get a feel for the tension and how much pressure to put when you're thumbing that spool, that's when you can not only put the bait where you want to, but you can put the bait where you want to quietly, and that's a big deal. And it's the same with the spinning outfit. You feather, the key on accuracy with the spinning outfit is you have to feather the spool and not use the bail to close it with. And once you get to where you can feather that spool good, that's when you can make good skip casts, you can pitch that bait and stop it where you want to. And there's different levels that anglers go through in their casting skills. The first thing everybody goes through is just trying to cast, just trying to cast for distance. And the second step is learning how to control that distance. And the third step is learning how to feather that spool to where you have a quiet entry in the water. And every one of those steps is an evolution that anglers make in becoming a better caster. So, and third, a little bit goes with vision. I mean, I think one of the big keys to becoming a good caster is, is having some decent eyesight. So, if you don't have the best eyesight, get fitted for some glasses, have some Lasix, get, some type of corrective, the situation where you can actually see good, because that's going to go a long way as well. And the main thing is just practicing. You have just got to practice out there. You can't expect to be a good putter in golf, or you can't expect to make spares all the time in bowling if you don't practice. And the same is fishing. And one of the reasons I always preach becoming a good caster, guys, is that I could take somebody right now that doesn't even know what a bass is, that has never fished for anything in their entire life, and I could spend a day with them and turn them into a really good caster. Put them in a boat, they don't know anything about fishing, but if I tell them, okay, cast over there by that stump, and they can make that cast accurately and quietly, they're going to catch so many more bass. And if you're a shallow water angler and you fish around targets, doesn't matter if it's wood, rock, grass, docks, whatever like that, the difference between becoming just an average shallow water angler and a great shallow water angler is putting that bait where you need to put that quietly. And that just comes from practice. So anyway, there's really no excuse for it as far as, not being a good caster, unless you have some type of a physical limitation that simply allows you not to cast very good. if you have, full control of your limbs and your physical attributes with that, it's just a matter of doing it. It's a matter of practicing, and it's a cheap way to do it. It's an effective way to do it. It's probably the easiest and best way I know to become a better angler and catch more bass, is just become an expert at casting. And in my situation, the reason I was able to win that world championship at casting is that I didn't have any other thing to do. I couldn't afford to put gas in my boat to go to the lake, so I was stuck in the backyard casting, and it paid off in the long run. So anyway, I hope those tips help you. I'll try to get on the water, and I'll do some specific stuff later on as far as tips on casting a spinning outfit, tips on pitching and flipping, tips on casting, tips on skipping. We'll do all that down the road here. So just wanted to throw this out real quick. Hope you guys are doing good. We'll talk later. See you.